The sky over Geneva changed color at 6 in the morning. The massive ship came down slow and heavy, moving through the clouds like a sinking stone. David Hayes stood in the operations room and watched it on every screen. The ship was not like anything Earth had ever built. It was shaped like a dragon's body. The metal was dark and scarred. Some parts glowed with a light that hurt your eyes if you looked too long. General Morrison stood next to David. She did not smile. She did not move. She just watched the screens like the rest of them. "How long until it lands?" David asked. 2 minutes, the radar operator said. "They're following the landing path we gave them. No weapons detected. No hostile moves." The radio had been quiet for hours. Then the Drakir had sent a message. They used a translation tool that broke and fixed itself as it spoke. The message was simple. "We come to ask for help. We come in peace. We come to seek knowledge from the humans." No one had believed it at first. The Drakir were legends in the galaxy that humans had only known for 10 years. When the first alien signal reached Earth, the world had changed. But the Drakir had never come close to Earth. They had never sent a single ship. They had ruled the galaxy alone for 10,000 years. They did not ask for help. They gave orders or they went to war. Now they were landing on Earth. They were asking for help. David was a military doctor. He was also a linguist. His job was to study alien language patterns and help humans understand the species around them. He had spent 5 years teaching himself Drakir speech. He had done this because no one had asked him to. He had just done it. Now the generals wanted him to talk to the Drakir. Now his work mattered. The ship touched down outside the city. The ground shook. Dust rose up. The news cameras showed nothing but clouds and smoke. Then the dust settled. The ship was real. It was there. It was huge. "Get a team together," General Morrison said. "Take Hayes and his language people. Go to the landing site. Find out what they want. Find out if they are telling the truth." 2 hours later, David was in a transport moving toward the Drakir ship. The other people in the transport did not talk. There was a military guard. There were 3 scientists. There was a doctor. There was a political officer from the United Nations. Everyone was afraid. No one said it, but the fear was there. The Drakir came out of the ship on a flat platform. There were 6 of them. They were huge. Each one was 4 meters tall. They had scales like dark blue steel. Their eyes were large and gold. Their claws were long and sharp. They moved like they had weight and power in every step. Then David saw the 3 in the center of the group. They were wounded. One of them could not stand without help. Another one was held by the others. The third one moved like every step hurt that David got out of the transport. The military guard wanted him to stay back, but David moved forward. The head Drakir raised one clawed hand. The gesture was clear. "Do not come closer." David stopped. The Drakir spoke. The translation tool on David's ear broke down, fixed itself, broke down again. Then it worked. "I am Commander Vask of the Drakir Empire. We come to ask for help. Our people die from something we do not understand. Our best doctors cannot help them. Our best machines cannot cure them. We heard stories about humans. We heard that humans come from a harsh world. We heard that humans can survive what kills other species. So we came. We asked for help. We ask because we have no other choice." David understood the words, but he heard something else underneath them. He heard shame. The Drakir were proud. They did not ask for help. They had never asked for help. Now they had to. The medical officer moved forward. His name was Dr. Coleman. He was a good doctor and a brave man. "We can help you," Coleman said. "We can examine your wounded. We can run tests. We can try to find the problem. Time is short, Commander Vask said. They die. Today or tomorrow, they die. Your machines are slow. Your medicine is simple. But we have no choice. We trust you. The word trust hung in the air. The Drakir did not trust humans. No one in the galaxy trusted humans. Humans were new. Humans were strange. Humans came from a world that should have killed them, but did not. Now the Drakir, rulers of the galaxy, had to trust humans because they had no other option. David moved closer to the wounded Drakir. One of them opened his golden eye and looked at him. The eye was smart and sharp, but it was also dying. David could see it. "We will help you," David said in Drakir speech. His accent was bad. His words were slow, but the meaning was clear. The wounded Drakir made a sound. It was not speech. It was something like pain, something like hope. The military guard moved the wounded Drakir to a medical transport. The doctors began to work. They took blood samples. They scanned the bodies with machines. They ran every test they had. The results came back fast. The wound was not a disease. It was not a virus. It was not anything the doctors had ever seen. The Drakir cells were breaking down. Something was eating them from the inside. But it was not alive. It was not a disease. It was worse. It was like a weapon. A weapon that turned a being's own body against itself. David sat in the medical lab and looked at the test results. Coleman sat next to him. "What is this?" Coleman asked. "I do not know," David said. "But I think the Drakir know. I think this is not a natural thing. I think this is something made. Something used against them." Commander Vask came into the lab. He moved without hope. He moved like an animal that was about to die. "Can you help us?" He asked. David looked at the golden-eyed Drakir. He thought about the words. He thought about trust. He thought about what it meant that the rulers of the galaxy had come to a world that was barely 10 years old, asking for help. "We will try," David said. "We will try everything. We will not stop." Vask nodded. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. It meant that the future had changed. It meant that Earth was no longer alone. David did not sleep for 3 days. He worked in the medical lab and studied the Drakir blood under every machine they had. The cells were breaking down fast. It was like watching a video of a building falling apart. The cells would start normal. Then they would begin to fall apart. Then they would break into pieces. Then there was nothing left. Coleman worked next to him. Other doctors came and went. No one could stop the breaking. No machine could fix it. No medicine could help. On the second day, one of the wounded Drakir died. His name was Cross. He had been a warrior for 200 years. He had fought in wars and seen empires rise and fall. He died on a medical table in Geneva, and no one could stop it. Commander Vask came to see the body. He did not cry. The Drakir did not do that. But he stood very still for a long time. Then he turned to David. "You cannot help us," Vask said. It was not a question. "We have not tried everything yet," David said. "There is nothing to try. We came here to die with hope instead of at home. We have failed." David wanted to say something to make it better. But he was a doctor. Doctors do not lie about death. That night, David sat in his room and looked at his own blood under the microscope. He had taken a sample just to compare it to the Drakir blood. He wanted to understand what made them so different. What made humans survive when things should kill them. He looked at his cells. Then he looked at the Drakir cells. Then he looked back at his cells. Then he stopped. His white blood cells were moving toward the Drakir cells. The cells should not do that. They should not even see Drakir cells. But they were moving toward them. They were trying to do something to them. David's heart began to move fast. He ran to the lab. He woke Coleman up at 3 in the morning. "Look at this," David said. He showed him the slide. Coleman looked for a long time. "What am I seeing?" "I think my body is trying to fix the Dracula cells. I think my immune system recognizes the damage. I think it is trying to heal it." "That is not possible. Your body cannot work on alien biology." "But it is trying to," David said. "Look at the cells. Look at what they are doing." They ran the test again. And again. Each time, the same thing happened. David's white blood cells moved toward the Dracula cells. Each time they touched, something changed. The breaking process slowed down. The cells held together longer. "We need to test this," Coleman said, "in a living body. But we cannot test this on the Dracula. The risk is too high." David understood what Coleman meant. But he also understood something else. He understood that this was the only chance. 2 Dracula warriors were dying right now. In a few hours, maybe they would be dead. "Test it on me," David said. "Absolutely not. We have no other choice." Coleman looked at him for a long time. Then Coleman went to find General Morrison. The general did not like the idea. The United Nations did not like the idea. The political officer did not like the idea. But the choice was simple. Test it on David or watch 2 Dracula warriors die. They put David in a medical room with a lot of machines. They took his blood. They ran it through a special machine that cleaned it and made it strong. Then they began to give the blood to the first wounded Dracula warrior. His name was Kel. He was a pilot in the Dracula Navy. He had been a pilot for 80 years. Nothing happened for 6 hours. Then Kel opened his golden eyes. He made a sound. It was small. It was like pain. But it was like something else too. It was like hope. "The breaking has stopped," one of the monitors said. The machine was reading Kel's cells. It was reading the breaking. Now it was not seeing the breaking anymore. "More blood," Coleman said. "Give him more." They took more of David's blood. They gave it to Kel. His color began to change. The dark blue of his scales began to shine again. The gold of his eyes began to burn brighter dot by the next morning. Kel could sit up. By that afternoon, he could stand. Commander Vask came to the medical lab. He saw Kel standing. He saw that Kel's wounds were healing. He saw that Kel was alive. Vask did not speak. He just looked. He looked at Kel. He looked at David. He looked at the machines. He looked at everything. "How is this possible?" Vask finally asked. "I do not know," David said. "But it is working." They began to treat the second wounded warrior the same way. Her name was Nira. She had been a commander of a Dracula warship. She had fought in battles and made choices that changed history. Now she was dying, and she did not have a choice. The treatment worked faster on Nira. By the end of the day, she was sitting up. By the next day, she was walking. The breaking had stopped. The cells had begun to fix themselves. The third warrior was harder. His name was Thren. He was dying faster. The breaking was worse. David gave more blood. They used more of the treatment. Thren did not respond quickly like the others. For 2 days, Thren stayed between life and death. Then, slowly he began to come back. On the 10th day after the Dracula arrived, all 3 wounded warriors were standing. They were not perfect. They were still healing. But they were alive. They were going to stay alive. Commander Vask stood in front of David. The other Dracula were with him. "What you have done is not a simple thing," Vask said. "In all the galaxy, no being has done this before. You have saved warriors that no technology could save. You have shown us that humans are not just a new species. You are something different. You are something we did not understand. You are something we need to understand. Word of what happened began to spread. The Drakir had a communication system. Messages went out to Drakir ships across the galaxy. Messages said, humans have power that no other species has. Messages said, humans can do what machines cannot do. Messages said, humans can heal what cannot be healed. And in the darkness of space, other beings heard these messages. Some heard them with hope. Some heard them with fear. Some heard them with hunger. The galaxy was changing. The Drakir had come to Earth asking for help. Now the galaxy would come looking for the power that humans had. The Drakir Council met 3 weeks after Kel, Nira, and Thren had fully recovered. They met on a station that orbited Earth. The station was old and built by the Drakir 200 years ago. Humans had not even known it was there. Now the station was full of ships. Drakir leadership had come to hear about the human who had done the impossible. David stood in front of them. He was not ready for this. He was a doctor, not a politician. But he was here, and they wanted to hear from him. Your blood has power, one of the Drakir leaders said. His name was Chancellor Morn. He was ancient. He had lived for 400 years. He had fought in wars that destroyed worlds. This power is not normal. This power is not something that any species should have. I do not know why my blood works, David said. I am just a human doctor. My body is not special. I just got sick less than you did. I survived more than you did. Maybe that is all it is. No, another leader said. She was called Admiral Kess. She had commanded the largest Drakir fleet ever built. It is more than that. Your body has done something that no Drakir body could do. It is adapted to something it should not be able to adapt to. This is not normal. This is rare. This is dangerous. The word dangerous hung in the air like a warning. Kel spoke up. The pilot who had been dying now stood in front of the council with the other recovered warriors. I have seen war, Kel said. I have fought for 80 years. I have never seen a being put his own blood into an alien to save him. Humans do not know fear. Humans do not know the rules. Humans do not know that they should not survive. So they survive. This is not danger. This is power. This is hope. Nira and Thren agreed. They spoke about what David had done. They spoke about the humans they had met. They spoke about a species that was young and strong and willing to do things that the old galaxy had forgotten how to do. But not everyone was happy. On the other side of the galaxy, a different empire heard the message about humans. This empire was called the Vex Dominion. They had fought the Drakir before. They had lost those wars. But they were still strong. They were still hungry. And they were afraid. The Vex were not like the Drakir. The Drakir were proud and old. The Vex were young and angry. They had conquered systems and enslaved populations. They wanted to rule. They wanted to control everything. When they heard about humans, they made a decision. They sent a message to their military commander. The message was simple. Humans cannot become stronger than us. Humans must be controlled or destroyed. 2 days later, the first Vex Dominion ship began to move. Then another. Then another. A fleet started moving through space. The fleet was heading toward Earth. The fleet was heading toward the humans, who had become something unexpected. David was sleeping when the warning came. General Morrison sent for him at dawn. He went to the military headquarters. Everyone there looked scared. Some of them looked sick. We have a problem, General Morrison said. The Drakir have detected a fleet moving toward Earth. It is a Vex Dominion fleet. It is massive. It will be here in 9 days. David sat down hard. What do they want? We do not know. But the Drakir Council thinks they want you. They think they want human power. They think they want to control it or destroy it. Why would they think I have power? Because the whole galaxy knows it now, General Morrison said. She showed him a communication. The message was from a Vex spy. It said, "The humans have developed a biological weapon. This weapon can cure the Dracure plague." Weapon can cure the Dracure plague. This weapon can be used against us. This weapon must be taken. David read the message 3 times. It did not say biological weapon. It said David was a weapon. What do we do? David asked. That is what the Dracure Council is asking, General Morrison said. They want to know if we can fight. They want to know if we will surrender. They want to know if we have any plan at all. David thought about Cal standing up after being dead. He thought about Nira walking after being broken. He thought about Thren coming back from the darkness. He thought about what his blood had done. We need to talk to them, David said. We need to talk to the Dracure Council. They are waiting for you. The station that orbited Earth was silent when David arrived. All the Dracure leaders were there. Cal, Nira, and Thren were there. They sat waiting for the young human who had healed them. They sat waiting to hear if humans could do more than just heal. David stood in front of them again. This time he knew what he wanted to say. I am just a doctor, David said. I am just a human. I do not have special weapons. I do not have special power. I just have blood. I just have a body that can fight disease and poison and break. But we have something else. We humans, we have something that the galaxy does not have anymore. We have the will to survive. We have the need to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We have the ability to do things that other species think are impossible because we do not know what is supposed to be impossible. He paused. Then he said, the Vex are coming. They think we are weak. They think we are new. They think we are afraid. But they are wrong. We are not afraid. We are humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us. We learned to live in that world. We learned to fight. We learned to survive. And we learned to do it together. Kel made a sound. It was the sound a Dracure makes when it respects another being. What do you want us to do? Admiral Cass asked. I want you to stand with us, David said. Not because you need me. Stand with us because we are stronger together. Show the Vex that they were wrong. Show them that humans are worth protecting. Show them that humans are worth fighting for. The Dracure Council looked at each other. Then Chancellor Morn spoke. We will stand with Earth, he said. We will stand with the humans. We will show the Vex that they have made a mistake coming here. In 9 days, the Vex Dominion fleet would arrive. In 9 days, the galaxy would change forever. Because what the Vex did not understand was that humans were not afraid of the dark. Humans had always lived in the dark. Humans had learned to shine. The United Nations building in New York had never been so tense. World leaders sat in a conference room and looked at maps showing the Vex Dominion fleet. The fleet was big. The ships were weapons. The space where the fleet was moving was marked in red on every map. Secretary General Okafor stood and looked at the screens. He had been Secretary General for 3 years. He had never expected to be making decisions about alien wars. He had never expected to be responsible for whether the world lived or died. The Dracure are offering us protection, one leader said. She was from Japan. Her name was Minister Tanaka. But if we accept their protection, we become their subjects. We lose our freedom. If we do not accept their protection, we lose everything else, another leader replied. He was from Brazil. His name was Minister Santos. The Vex will take us. They will take everything. Freedom means nothing if we are dead. The human doctor is saying we should fight with the Dracure, a third leader said. He was from China. His name was Minister Wang. But we do not have the weapons. We do not have the training. We do not have the ships. We will die for nothing. Okafor raised his hand. The room became quiet. What does David Hayes say? Okafor asked. He says humans are not about weapons and ships, Minister Tanaka said. He says humans are about something else. But he does not say what that something else is. David was in a small room in the building. He was alone. He was thinking about the choice he had made. The Drakir had listened to him. The Council had agreed to fight. But the United Nations was divided. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to hide. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to use human biology as a weapon against the Vex. That last option made David angry. The Drakir had trusted him. He had saved them. Now, some people wanted to turn him into a tool. They wanted to make him a weapon. They wanted to take his blood and study it and use it. Kel came to see him. The pilot moved quietly for something so big. You are angry, Kel said. Yes, David said. Good, Kel said. Anger is power. Anger is focus. But anger without direction is just noise. I do not know how to fight a war, David said. I know how to heal. I know how to fix broken things. I do not know how to kill. You do not need to know how to kill, Kel said. You need to know how to survive. You need to know how to help others survive. That is what you did for us. You made us survive. Now you make your people survive. David thought about this. Kel was right. He was not a warrior. He was a healer. He was a survivor. That was enough. David went back to the United Nations building. Secretary General Okafor was waiting. The council is divided, Okafor said. Some want to fight. Some do not. They need to hear from you. They need to understand what you are asking them to do. David stood in front of the world leaders. 50 people looked at him. They were afraid. David could see it on their faces. I am going to tell you the truth, David said. The truth is that I do not know if we can win. The Vex are powerful. They have weapons that we do not have. They have experience in war that we do not have. By every measure that the galaxy knows, we cannot win. The room became quiet. This was not what the leaders wanted to hear. But there is something that the galaxy does not understand, David continued. The galaxy is old. The galaxy has rules. The galaxy knows what is possible and what is not possible. But we are new. We do not know the rules. We do not know what is supposed to be impossible. So we can do things that they think are impossible. We can survive what they think will kill us. We can find ways when there are no ways. This is not strength that you can measure. This is not power that you can build. This is something that lives inside us. It is something that says we will not give up. It is something that says we will keep trying. It is something that says we will keep fighting. One leader stood up. It was Minister Santos from Brazil. I believe you, Santos said. I will fight. I will tell my people to prepare. We will stand with the Drakir. We will stand with Earth. One by one, other leaders stood. Then all of them stood. The room filled with determination. These were leaders who had been afraid. Now, they had a choice. They could be victims, or they could be fighters. They chose to fight. Secretary General Okafor called David over. This is your fight now, Okafor said. I am putting you in charge. You will work with the Drakir military. You will work with our military. You will tell us what to do. David wanted to say no. He wanted to say that he was just a doctor. But he knew that something had changed. He was not just a doctor anymore. He was the bridge between humans and the Drakir. He was the reason they were fighting together. Over the next week, humans and Drakir worked together. Engineers from both species began building defenses. Soldiers trained together. Scientists studied the Vex weapons. David worked with all of them. He was the common thread. He was the one who understood both kinds of beings. Kel took over Drakkar military planning. Nira commanded the defense stations. Thren was put in charge of the ships that would fight in space. These were the three warriors that David had saved. Now they were saving Earth. General Morrison worked with David to prepare the human forces. She was a good soldier. She understood tactics. She understood that a young species could be strong if it was trained right. David and Kel sat together the night before the Vex arrived. They sat on the observation deck of the station that orbited Earth. They could see the planet below. The lights of cities were like stars on the dark surface. "Are you afraid?" David asked. "Yes," Kel said. "I am afraid. I have fought many wars. I have never been afraid to die. But I am afraid to fail. I am afraid that I will not protect this place. I am afraid that these lights will go dark." "Then we will not fail," David said. "You cannot promise that." "No," David said. "But I can promise that I will try. I can promise that I will keep trying until I cannot try anymore. That is what humans do. We try. We fail. We try again. We do not stop." Kel made a sound. It was respect. It was also something else. It was the beginning of friendship. The next morning, the sensors began to pick up the Vex Dominion fleet. The ships were huge. The weapons were visible from far away. The fleet began to slow down. They were approaching Earth. They were moving to attack. But what the Vex did not see was the defense grid that had been built. They did not see the alliance that had been forged. They did not see the humans and Drakkar standing together. They only saw what they expected to see. A weak young species and a tired old species. They would learn they were wrong. They would learn it fast. The attack began at dawn. The Vex ships came out of hyperspace like a blade cutting through cloth. They were fast. They were angry. They were hungry for conquest. The first Vex strike hit the outer defense grid. The grid was made from human technology and Drakkar technology working together. When the strike hit, the grid held. It bent but did not break. The Drakkar weapons fired back. The human systems provided targeting information. The strike bounced off and failed. The Vex commander, whose name was Lord Krath, did not believe what he was seeing. He sent another strike. This one was bigger. This one was supposed to break everything. It did not. Thren commanded the Drakkar ships that flew around the planet like hunters around prey. His ships were fast. They had been fast for hundreds of years. But they had never fought like this before. They had never fought with humans giving them information. They had never fought with human soldiers standing next to Drakkar soldiers, trusting each other, moving together. Human pilots flew with Drakkar pilots in the same ships. They could not understand each other's words, but they understood what needed to be done. When the Drakkar pilot saw danger, the human pilot already knew it. When the human pilot saw a target, the Drakkar pilot was already moving toward it. It was like one being flying two bodies. The Vex ships tried to land on Earth. They tried to take the planet, and the humans and the strange power that humans had. But Kel met them in space. Kel commanded the fight in the upper atmosphere. She had been a pilot for 80 years. She had lived because a human doctor had given her his blood. Now, she would fight because of that. Now she would not let them take this planet. David was not in space. David was on the ground. He was in a medical facility that was also a command center. He could see what was happening. He could see the battle. He could see the Vex ships coming down. He could see human soldiers running to fight them. The Vex had weapons that were very powerful. The Vex weapons could tear through metal and destroy buildings. But the Vex weapons could not tear through human will. Humans had faced death before. Humans had come from a world that tried to kill them every day. Humans knew how to fight when they were supposed to lose. One group of human soldiers was surrounded by Vex troops. The Vex had them trapped in a building. The situation was hopeless. But the commander of those soldiers, a woman named Rebecca, sent a message to David. "We cannot win," she said, "but we will not run." David sent back, "Then hold on. Dracula ships are coming." Mira saw the message from David. She turned her ship and moved toward where the human soldiers were trapped. She came down fast through the atmosphere. The heat was so strong it could have burned her skin away. But her ship held. Her armor held. She arrived and opened fire on the Vex troops. The human soldiers ran out of the building. They ran toward the Dracula ship. Rebecca was the last one to run. She had been a soldier for 10 years. She had never thought she would be running toward an alien to save her life. But she did not hesitate. She ran to Mira's ship. She ran to the being who had been dying days before, but was now a savior. Mira took them all to safety. Then she went back and fought again. The battle went on for 12 hours. The Vex tried to win. They sent more ships. They sent bigger weapons. But they could not understand what they were seeing. They could not believe that old dragons and new humans could fight together like this. They could not believe that a species that had existed for less than 20 years could be this strong. Lord Croth made a mistake. He thought that if he killed the human doctor, the humans would break. He thought that they would stop fighting. He sent his best ships to find David, but David was not alone. Kel was with him. When the Vex ships came, Kel was ready. She had been waiting for this. She had been waiting for the chance to fight for the being who had saved her. The fight was fast and hard. Kel's ship was damaged. Fire came from the engines. But she did not stop. She flew toward the Vex ships. She rammed one of them. Her ship broke apart. The Vex ship went down. David watched from the ground. He saw Kel's ship falling from the sky. He felt something break inside him. He had saved Kel once. He could not save her again, but Kel ejected from the ship. She fell toward the ground. And David was there. David was waiting. They had made a plan. Kel had said that if her ship was going down, she would eject. David had said he would catch her. Kel fell fast. David reached up. His hands touched her claws. The force was so strong it broke 3 of David's bones. But he held on. They fell together to the ground. When the dust cleared, Kel was on the ground. She was hurt, but she was alive. She looked at David. "You broke your bones," Kel said. "Yes," David said. "But you caught me." "Yes." "Humans are strange," Kel said. "You have no shells. You have no armor. You are weak, but you will break yourself to save a friend. This is why you are strong." By that night, the Vex fleet was leaving. They had tried to win. They had failed. They had never seen anything like the alliance of humans and Dracula. They did not have a weapon for it. They did not have a strategy for it. They ran. The Dracula Council came to Earth. They came to see what had happened. They came to see the young species that had fought beside them. They came to understand. David stood in front of the council with broken ribs and broken bones. Chancellor Morn was there. Admiral Kess was there. All the leaders were there. "You have done something that no one in the galaxy has ever done," Chancellor Morn said. "You have made humans worthy of standing beside the Dracula. You have shown us that the young can teach the old. You have shown us that hope is stronger than power." Then Morn did something that had never been done before. Morn extended his clawed hand and made the gesture of respect. Every Dracula leader did the same. "We ask you to join the Dracula Council," Chancellor Morn said. "We ask you to represent humans. We ask you to help us understand what we have forgotten. We ask you to be our voice of hope." David wanted to say no. He wanted to say that he was just a doctor. But he knew that this was important. This was for Earth. This was for the future. "I will join your council," David said. But I cannot do this alone. I need Kel. I need Nira. I need Thren. These are the ones who understood what humans could be. They are the ones who believed in us first. Kel made a sound of respect. Nira and Thren did the same. David looked out the window at the cities of Earth. The lights were still shining. The planet was still alive. The people were still there. And now the whole galaxy knew that humans were not just survivors. Humans were builders. Humans were healers. Humans were warriors who would stand with others to protect what they loved. The Vex had come looking for weapons. They had found something more dangerous. They had found hope. They had found a being who would not give up. They had found a species that the galaxy had forgotten. And they had learned that the deadliest weapon in any battle was not a gun or a ship. It was a human who had decided not to stop trying.